What is the different challenges as well? Last time it was the pandemic response for quick service restaurants to continue their services, but it might be a different challenge in the future.
100%. And that's the thing, it's all about responding, right? It's a plan. And then what was it, Tyson's quote, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, the metaphorical punch in the face.
Yeah.
You got your plan and then you just don't know what's necessarily going to pop up. And it's all about responding and figuring out what's the right thing to do at that point in time. And work doesn't get necessarily thrown away. So for example, we had a whole heap of other ideas, all of these functionalities. We documented it all, so everything's there, it's interactive. We're a big fan of Neuro. So we've got everything on that digital whiteboard, everything's available for the stakeholders. And I even see from time to time, they're popping in there, they're having a look, they're picking up some of the ideas that we had considered before, but just didn't implement it because it wasn't a priority.
Yeah.
They're able to access that and continue using it, because then that old work, those old ideas that we came up with, they might still be relevant and they're not lost. So as long as it's in some format or some way that works, it's the worst case is when you get consultants in and they prepare a nice 400-page slide deck and nobody looks at it again. That's the worst case scenario.
Yes, definitely. It takes a lot of time to inherit like different information as projects as well. What do you think about the way we work together? There's two different companies focusing on two different things. What went well and why is it working well?
I think trust is at the core of it. So we've got our core capabilities and we know where we don't have our strengths, and then where you've got your strengths and what you're able to do. And there's a bit of overlap here and there, but it's knowing that you've got the capabilities and figuring out what your developers, for example, let's work out that scenario. We know what your developers need, what your testers need, and being able to support them and give them the right documentation, the right stuff. So like for us, we work off creating the wireframes, we then create the designs in Figma, putting that into walking them through it. So in the initial stages, we used to keep everything just in Figma. But then what we realized is for stakeholders, it was overwhelming, especially when the website gets too complex, right? Yeah. It's, where do I look? There's no real clear, always a starting point because people can drop in at different stages. So like we went from that to then putting it into Zeppelin. And then your developers were using, from what I remember, it was Storybook. Yeah. So how do we make sure that we then give you and what you need when you need it, and make sure that you're confident when our piece is done, let's say. It's the ongoing support. So knowing that, at any point in time, we might get questions. So we're there to support. I think that support, the trust, and knowing what each needs in order to get their job done well, and communicating that, those are the big pieces for me.
I suppose if you would like to get a type of client, what would the type of clients that Innovation Accelerated would love to get?
Oh, good question. Look, I think mainly our focus has been across governments, not-for-profit, and corporates. I think what I've found, at least with the team, is we're doing work with not-for-profits and finding a good balance, giving back and helping those organizations achieve the same whole type of solutions that your big banks or your big telcos could achieve. That's amazing. Like we've done stuff helping flood victims or bushfire victims be able to request the right assistance and get it in a timely manner, and the workflows that go into it. I think the best type of customer is not necessarily what industry they're in, but more where they've got an appreciation for understanding who the customer is or what their needs are, and not skimping on that. And making sure that we put them at the heart of the problems that we solve. The harder challenges are when we end up, and I'm sure you've been in the similar situation, we go, we've already got the idea, we know everything we need to know.
Yeah, that's right.